Mel Medarda, a gentle, elegant, cunning woman. She is a social engineering expert. It is a skill that is demanded of her since a very young age, and she learned it and learned it beautifully. There's a lot of conversation of how she is manipulative, but an absence of conversation on her soft, gentle traits, on her creative traits, on how she shows love. Now, both traits can't be denied. They are both woven into her. But we won't get a full picture of Mel Medarda without seeing the way her emotions are expressed in her paintings. Away from a very young age, she was already challenging her mother because she learned of her brother's way of thinking and his philosophies and loved it. Statehood over war. A philosophy not appreciated in her home nation. But through Jayce's acceptance of her, she began to see that maybe she wasn't all that bad. Mel starts off Arcane insecure about what she is doing and if she is holding up the Medarda's name in a good light, or is she what her mother believes her to be? Weak, foolish. Is her philosophy good enough, or will it result in failure? Let's start by getting to know who Mel is. Mel is from Noxus. Noxus is a place that loves war, basically. They are brutal, expansionist conquerors. They are deeply proud people who value strength above all. Ambessa teaches a very young Mel the importance of being merciless, having a numbness to death. She does this with a story, and then by exposing her daughter to a death right in front of her eyes, a young girl no older than her. Ambessa tells Mel a story. When she was young, her father told her that every blade she brought back from a fallen soldier, he would reward her with a coin. Yes, she was going to be paid like those people that get paid to do their chores when she stares death in the face. Their actions is not something to be ashamed of, but proud of. For Ambessa, this lesson is to show the importance of growing numb to death, a necessary trait for a wolf. But if she gave Mel this exact lesson, all Mel would see is how destructive war is. And that's what happens with Ambessa's second lesson. Ambessa brings in a girl from the old regime. She is a prisoner, and she asks Mel, "What do you want us to do with her?" Mel says, "Let's show mercy. Strip the girl of her possessions and send her off, banish her." But Ambessa stresses to her, all you need to do is kill this one girl. It would save you from an uprising and killing thousands more. This is a lesson that ends up haunting Mel. What she ends up learning and continuing to emphasize throughout all of Arcane is we want war to be our last resort. When she's older, she's presented a solution by someone she cares about.
Jayce, you don't know war. I do.
Jayce, frustrated with the inaction of the council, wants to go into Zon, invade it, and take out those causing violence. That should solve their problems, right? But Mel knows he's been manipulated by Ambessa. She is hard on her stance when she says that would cause war. You don't know war. Here we can see the differences between Mel and Ambessa. They get the same lesson and take it completely differently. Mel stands by her principles. She wants so badly to be loved by her mother, to be accepted as a Medarda, but with her own philosophies. And when given the opportunity to work with her mother, she refuses. She never lost that little girl that challenged her mother's way of thinking because she honors the lesson that Kino gave her. Her brother says, war is a failure of statecraft, meaning that war only happens when good leadership is not in place. Now, Ambessa, hardened by Noxus, does not believe that you can talk your way out of situations. You have to be merciless and also charming because she wants her kids to survive. She has a lot of enemies. Her kids will too. They will quite literally inherit her enemies.
This is their doing.
We can't be certain the blood.
Keep their name out of your mouth. They have my daughter, Rictus.
Mel is in a bloody throne room, the throne chair having half of the head cut off. At a very young age, she's measured. She doesn't look at this bloody throne with fear, but thinking. And when she expresses what she's really thinking about to her mother, she talks about how the halls will look in the future, how the governing body will be. How can this destroyed nation progress into the future? How can they recover from war? Art is also a way that we can recover from war, and we see that with Mel. After Ambessa's second lesson, we see the girl Ambessa killed's necklace on the floor surrounded by her blood. In a flash, it transitions to Mel's painting above her bed. The thing about a painting above your bed in feng shui, it is a commanding position. It is the first thing you see when you wake up and the last thing you see before you go to bed. It is recommended to have a balance, so not making the painting too large compared to the bed, so it can maintain a sense of harmony in the space. The artwork should not be too heavy or overwhelming, otherwise it can feel more oppressive And of course, it is better to do a peaceful image rather than one that evokes strong emotions or negative emotions. All of which we can see is not happening with Mel's painting. Her sense of balance and harmony is obviously thrown off, and I believe that this memory etched itself into her heart, that it even subconsciously goes into her art. A way of recording and depicting feelings and events that occur during times of war. Just in case it's not clear, this painting is created by Mel. And when Mel paints, she paints with emotion. When she was mad at Jayce, she is striking the canvas in short, sharp jabs. When she is rebelling against her mother, she is using her whole arm to do a free-flowing brush stroke across the canvas. Mel makes her own paint. To make your own paint, you gain complete control over the color and the consistencies, but it also lets you crush it, and I feel like it's a big stress reliever, something to soothe her frustrations. Art is an outlet to communicate our ideas, express emotions, capture a moment in time. So when Jayce says to her, "I didn't know you were an artist," this guy who has known her for 7 years doesn't know that the art that aligns her walls is her own. It shows that Mel really keeps these things that are intimate to her to herself. So as they sit down and they look at her painting and he calls it beautiful, it is a very gentle moment between them. A moment where Mel is letting Jayce into her world. Now, what is this painting? Noxus ships departing out of the Noxus capital. She takes a lot of time putting detail into the immortal bastion. Perhaps internally she's depicting her banishment or a hope that they will come and retrieve her. But it is without a doubt that she misses and yearns for her home. This is reflected in her speech too. When Jayce is vulnerable with her, she's also vulnerable about her exile. Someone whose name is so powerful due to her family's connection, telling a council member that she was exiled from her family.
She's the last heir of the great Medardas.
To be exiled from a family with such a strong name, it weakens your social stance. Another council member would definitely use this against her, or at least Salo would. But she sees and understands that Jayce is a caring man. The way he cares for Victor shows her that he isn't like other people she knows. So it's okay for her to be this vulnerable with him. She says, "I did not live up to be the Medarda standards." And Jayce, bless his soul, does not know anything about the Medarda family. So when he says, "I don't believe that," he's probably thinking like, no, you're amazing, you're smart, you're capable. Of course, you wouldn't fall short of anyone's expectation, not knowing that the expectations are actually to be merciless. But a kind sentiment is there. Jayce doesn't understand though, and thus cannot truly comfort her. He brings it back to her. "Do you think that's true?" Mel doesn't answer him, and it's so obvious in her face that, yeah, she thinks that's true. She's not enough for Noxus. She's not enough for her mother. Noxus does take precedence in her heart right now. Her mother takes precedence. Piltover is important to her, but she wants to be accepted by her family. And that is why they are centered and at the front in this painting. The scene ends with him acknowledging the painting, saying that it is beautiful. The next time we see this painting, Mel is marching up to her mother, telling her, "Leave here, leave Jayce alone, take your ships, get out." Ambessa finally explains why she is here. The person that killed Mel's brother, Kino, still has a score to settle. They need weapons and resources because this person is strong, and they are not going to stop. She's heard whispers of Hex Tech.
Our instincts were right. They fear Hex Tech.
Something that can be utilized for weapons. If she can inspire a war, inspire fear in the scientist who is creating Hex Tech, then the result is weapons that she can take on the personal fight she has with the Black Rose, the people who hurt Mel's brother. But Mel, like always, stresses that she only wanted Hex Tech weapons to defend Piltover. Ambessa stresses again that this is for the family. That's who she cares about. But for Mel, she was banished. So how can it be for the family when you don't even care for me to be by your side? And she doesn't even understand why. This is when Ambessa shows her vulnerability. You weakened me. It's her way of saying, I love you. Ambessa couldn't handle how pained Mel looked when she made these decisions that were merciless. And Ambessa saying this shook Mel. Mel's earlier resolve isn't so strong right now. What she has said throughout season 1 is how much she still loves her family despite being banished. She yearns for home, and Ambessa is giving her that. But first, we need that weapon. Then you can come home and take your rightful place by my side, where you belong. And as she says this, the painting appears behind them again. And I may be reaching here, but to me, it looks like they're on a ship. Blue couch looking thing is like the head of the ship, right? And you see the sails up there, and Ambessa is the one standing, the one commanding, the one steering the ship, steering Mel towards the decision that she wants. And the last time we see this painting, at least from what I recall, is during season 1's last couple minutes. Victor and Jayce are proposing something that will bring peace to Zahn and Piltover, something that will prevent a war, a deal with Silco. Zahn will be free of the council's rules. They can run on their own because Piltover cannot do it without the perspective of Zahn Knights. This decision is going completely against what Ambessa wants. This proposal has caused so much chaos in the room. People are screaming, wine is being thrown, and Mel's first reaction is to look at her ring, a ring with her family's sigil on it. She takes it off and votes for the proposal. And unlike the other council members, Mel does not argue. And she certainly has with past Jayce proposals. She has voted with him because of loyalty, shown extreme hesitation, and fought back against his proposals. Her support for the proposal is solely based on her knowing it is right, and that she was also going against her mother's wishes by voting for it. And this is when it shifts to Ambessa walking up to the painting, seeing that gold paint has been brushed over the Noxus ships all over with a big brush, making sure to even get the little ships at the bottom there. Mel was not messing around. Gold is Mel's color. It is showing that she is choosing herself, her ideals. They take precedence. One thing I also fear is a loss in this analysis, but I just don't have the brain power, is the different ways of painting. Jinx also uses a lot of paints. Mel's is much more traditional. And in the scene before the Black Rose takes her, Jinx is painting Piltover with her colors, her way of painting. Chaotic. And it splatters across Mel's room's window. Maybe it's a message on how they have failed Piltover, and while they turn a blind eye, she's going to make them see her. I don't know. I'm still kind of struggling to come up with an analysis here, but I do think there's something to be said in the different ways that they express themselves in art. Now, we've mentioned Jayce a couple times. Jayce is someone who she invests time, resources, money in because he is building Hextech, an idea she finds revolutionary. She wants something revolutionary because it's going to give Piltover a name, give them esteem. Jayce is an inventor. He is favored by Heimerdinger. His families are tool makers, as Jayce describes it, putting hammers in the hands of the people to build Piltover. Jayce is someone who had a lot of encouragement and affection in his life. He's had patrons, people who invest in his dream. He's someone who's not afraid to be emotionally vulnerable. Now, Mel is a Medarda. She is someone that throughout her entire life has her name recognized. Salo confirms this when he makes a snide comment to Ambessa, implying that Mel wouldn't have gotten to her position without her name, or at least be taken so seriously.
It's the name. It bewitches people. You should know. Do you really think Mel could have succeeded with...
Her name holds power, which means that people will use her for her name. They'll see power, money, prestige. They won't see her. Now, at first glance, the show makes you think that Jayce is gonna be some egotistical guy who wants power, money, greed, fame. I don't even know, honestly, because I thought that when I was watching it. I know I wasn't alone. And when I rewatched it, he's not like that. Power would mean being a council member, and he does not want that. And when problems start arising with Hextech and gems, he doesn't even hesitate to be the first one to say, let's just shut it down. My entire work, shut it down. Even Heimerdinger is like, bro, this is your work. Like, are you sure? For Jayce, this was an appropriate and no-brainer answer. Yeah, someone who cares about their reputation wouldn't want to do that. When it came to Mel, he wasn't trying to get her because he wanted money or prestige or something. By the time they got together, he had all that. No, his interest in Mel has been there since the first time he made a pitch to her, and she absorbed it and believed in him. She said, fine, I'll give you a chance. Honestly, the best way to this man's heart is by letting him ramble about his dream. 7 years later, we see Jayce comes to Mel for advice. He seeks her out. And when he says, oh, it's about Heimerdinger, she says, when is it not? Implying that probably comes to her, especially with Heimerdinger issues. Now, in this scene, I believe more than in any, it is so obvious obvious how she is trying to convince him to talk about all their progress during Progress Day. Mel always will say her opinion, but in this scene in particular, you can tell she's doing a little bit more to try and convince him, appealing to his ego, give him light touches, and Jayce does not bite. Victor and Mel both want him to talk about the Hex Gem, two people who he values the opinion of, and yet it is still not enough to convince him. And Jayce is also seen as the type of guy who will listen to whatever the last person says. Mel and Victor were the last people to talk to him, but he came to his own conclusion to listen to Heimerdinger. Jayce is not someone that just sways to whatever people say, he thinks about it a lot, constantly battling between two very different decisions. Mel and Jayce don't always agree. Mel doesn't always convince him. Now, the first moment where they are both vulnerable is after Jayce is a counselor and they saw a play together. Jayce sees a darker part of Mel, the part that is very good at this political game, and even teaches him how to do the political game himself. And there's a reminder what this game is for the council to accept his research, for him to continue doing it. Now, for Mel, this may have other ulterior motives. She may have wanted him in this position so that she can also have some in to the tradings amongst the other council members. Though that is an observation. It's hard to say if that's why, because she already knows some of these political deals. What we know for sure is that during these negotiations, Mel is trying to convince them to care about Hextech. She tells Amara, "You can have former trade privileges if you believe in Talus's dream. You can invest your time with others, but if you work with us, you're investing in the future." Some argue the parallels between when she was being taught lessons by Ambessa to her now teaching lessons to Jayce. The setting of Ambessa's lessons being a more honest and brutal setting versus this one being a theater place where you can wear masks and act as someone that you're not. The scene before was an incredible show of Mel's power, and Jayce isn't blind to it. He calls it out. It's corruption. But now going back to the scene after the play, Jayce shares with Mel his ideology. This is similar to when Ambessa was teaching her lessons. Mel shares her philosophy with her mother. Peace can be found without having war. As for Jayce's ideology, his family put hammers in the hands of the people to build this magnificent city. So Jayce can put magic in the hands of the people, Hextech, to build something beautiful as well. He wants to be like his father. He wants to give to the world. And unlike her mother who rejected her ideology, she really likes Jayce's. Not only does she like it, but she wants to be a part of it. Unlike Jayce's family who gives, her family takes. Her hand reaches out to him, wanting that connection and wanting to be a part of his world. I do believe in this moment she is being honest. We're not often in the position to give anything back, kind of separating herself from the work they're doing right now. Jayce shuts this down. He tells her he could not have done this without her. It was with Mel's support to be able to stabilize the crystal with Victor that day. And that affirmation that she can also be a part of giving magic to the people speaks to her. At this moment, she is someone who really doesn't know if her philosophy is good, and Jayce is making her feel good. So I believe their scene of intimacy happened because she liked him. She desired him. So when Jayce ends up leaving that night, she is so upset. It's not only humiliating if you didn't really have feelings, but if you do have feelings, it's hurtful. He comes to apologize the next day, and she doesn't even want to look at this man's face. When he tells her how serious the reason was why he left, she puts the paint canvas down, what is that called? The palette down, and meets him where he sits on the floor. Victor's dying, and Jayce is describing their relationship, how close they are, how much he loves him, how this is the man who saved his life, and yet he feels like he can't do anything for him. And Mel says, "I didn't know you were that close." Some people took this as like, how do you not know you're so close if you've known each other for like 7 years? I think we can break this down. For one, Jayce doesn't know her very well either. I do think Jayce doesn't really talk about, that night, and she's probably referring to the saving thing. But people commonly declare this is a relationship, one that she's seen for nearly a decade. She's seen how Victor and Jayce interact. She must know how close they are. Well, to Mel, she has coworkers. And those coworkers not only keep her at an arm's length, but she's also keeping them at an arm's length. And that is how she is viewing Victor and Jayce's relationship. If we don't know all the details, we are going to interpret relationships the way we're familiar with them. She's not going to know how close they are until Jayce decides to tell her. It's also worth noting we don't know the type of relationship that Mel and Jayce had. He seeks her advice, and the one time we're shown it, it was one-on-one. But it's not very clear how much Mel is involved with Victor, only really seeing them interact when it involves the council or a threat to Piltover. Some people will argue that she's a sponsor, so she should know what's going on. Cassandra was also a sponsor for Jayce, and she had no clue what he was doing there. So it's safe to say that we just don't know. So going back to their conversation, Jayce seeks physical comfort, and you can see the surprise on her face. Like, what are you doing? It's not something she's familiar with, and she's really trying to understand what is their relationship right now. Why did you come to me with this? Why are you being vulnerable with me? And even despite not understanding, she is still reciprocating physical intimacy by touching his shoulder. She doesn't reject him. And this is when he answers simply that nothing feels impossible when I'm with you. He finds strength in her. There's no calculative move with him. He's just an honest man who loves his friend, feels weak, and wants to be weak with her. She was taught that connections like this are bad. She's not even thinking about that right now. She's thinking, I can be vulnerable with you too. As the relationship continues, Mel shows her care for Jayce by knowing when he's overwhelmed, giving him time to think and not have to think so much about the council, like she'll take care of it. She's also checking in on him, and even when he gives her some answers on how he's feeling, she presses for more. As we know, she is very socially aware, and this is when she's using it. Just make sure he is venting everything he needs to vent. When Jayce kicks Heimerdinger off the council because he wants to save Victor and Heimerdinger is red taping the project, she gives him physical reassurance and emotional vulnerability. He was my mentor. I betrayed him. So she shares the complexity of how she feels with her family. They banished her, they betrayed her, but she still loves them. Heimerdinger still cares for Jayce, is what she's essentially saying. Now, during their last big moment of vulnerability, they had a fight right before. Mel was captured by the Black Rose, faced with psychological torture. Information now about herself that makes her question her entire life. The closest person to her is taken away in front of her eyes. She finally gets her brother back and hasn't seen him in a decade, just for her to have to kill the image of him with her own hands. Black Rose took away the people she loves and made her feel powerless, no more than a vessel. As for Jayce, he sees the end of the world. He spends months at the bottom of Zaun, eating raw newts, recovering from an infected wound, and seeing these like zombie-like beings. And all he's trying to do is figure out, how did it end up like this? Every moment he is questioning every word that anyone told him. Is it more sinister than he thought? He even gets to the conclusion that she somehow saved them both. How would he even know that she had some sort of power? But with him already questioning her intentions and thinking that maybe she didn't care for him and this was all for Hextech, it made him wonder if it was on purpose that she only saved him. He's trying to make sense of a very scary world. It's interesting that the words that he hears from Mel when he's down here is, perhaps it's time for the era of magic. And he goes, no, no. And the way they make Mel sound, it sounds sinister. Originally, she said it in wonder and in support. But in his memory, it sounds like she's saying it as if it gives her more power. I think that he thought she was like some evil sorcerer at this point. And if that's the case, now I get why he assumes that she had powers. Jayce is the type to have read a lot of mage stories of natural-born mages, brought a lot of destruction in the world. Maybe he thought that she had a sinister reason for wanting Hextech, similar to how Soko was using Singe or Shimmer. I do think the writers in Season 1 were trying to do some parallel between Soko and Mel. Mel and Soko are both leaders of Zaun and Piltover. Mel wants to build Piltover's defense with Hextech. Soko uses Shimmer for attack and invasion. I do want to be clear, attack versus defense. Mel is still not acting like Soko or treating them like how Soko was with Singe, which is the point why Jayce ended up apologizing for this, calling himself an ass and saying he was confused about a lot of things. But I know we're going to interpret things in a different way and not everyone's going to agree with me on this. With Victor, he gets a chance to talk to the older mage version of him, but Mel is still a complete mystery and thus not trustworthy when he comes back. When he sees her walking into the room, he's already gripping his weapon because he thinks that she is one of Victor's glorious evolution beings. But when she pulls her hood off and he sees that it is Mel, He sighs, relieved, but his mood then flickers to suspicion. His suspicions have closed off his emotional vulnerability towards her. When Mel sees Jayce, it is a breath of fresh air. It is relief. But the man who would so eagerly come and rest his head on her lap is not there. There's something extremely different about him, and she points it out. What we see in this scene is a lack of vulnerability. She shows her worry to him. What happened to you? Despite everything that she's been through, she still wants to ask him first. And he goes, doesn't matter, closing himself off to her. Wanting to still try, she shares her vulnerability, saying something happened to me too. Jayce does not ask her what happened to her. He immediately says, you're the reason we didn't die in the attack. It's not a question. He knows. Mel confirms. Apparently so. Her answer alone tells you she did not know when that happened. Jayce asks her, how long have you known? So he can get an idea of how long she's been using her powers. And if it was for a very long time, then she should be able to protect everyone, and thus proving his suspicions right. And while Jayce's voice grows more accusatory, Mel keeps her voice soft. Why just me? Why not save all of them? And Mel's like, that's ridiculous. I didn't know. After their fight and the whole fight with Victor, Jayce apologizes to Mel. He's been an idiot, and he recognizes that she is hurt. She's not some sinister mage. Mel has already learned to be vulnerable with Jayce, so she doesn't close up. She is open about her inner feelings with the Black Rose. She doesn't say exactly what happened to her, but she does talk about her loss of identity, her loss of feeling in control of her life. She is nothing but a vessel. Now with the Black Rose, Mel discovers that she is a mage. She was born out of an affair, the affair being with someone that's magical. Black Rose tells her that her birth was no accident, implying that Ambessa purposely wanted to have a magical child. Ambessa then banishes her, but the Black Rose twists this to hiding her weapon. And the Black Rose also say they want to use her as a weapon, a silver bullet to take down her mother. They frame her life to be completely out of her control, a tool to be used by someone else. Jayce then tells her something that no matter in all of his confusion, he knew as a truth, something he felt in his bones. There is no one on this earth that can control you. That if you're a weapon, you're the only one that can wield yourself. Jayce is really good at words of encouragement. He is good at seeing the strength in Mel and telling her. Mel and Jayce's relationship for Mel's arc was opening her up, giving her confidence that her identity is more than being a Medarda. Mel herself is in control. Before any title or name, this last conversation brings her back to herself. If given the time to be understood, we'd see Mel as a character who can teach us how to live beyond our family's expectations, or how to even not need to know who they are. For kids who don't know one of their parents, they sometimes feel incomplete and lost. Mel now doesn't know who her father is. She says, this blood is alien to me, and yet it has dictated everything in her life. And her story is about not letting her blood, whether it's her mother or her father's, dictate her life. She teaches you how the thing that someone tells you makes you weak, being the fox, traits that embody her power, traits that are attuned to her sense of self, are what makes her extremely strong. Her empathy is her strength. So that's the story of Mel Medarda's vulnerability. Someone unsure of who she was, unsure if her philosophies were good enough for her family, to being able to stand on her own, stand against her mother. The tragedy of Mel Medarda is when she finally became vulnerable, she also lost the people to share it with. To think that the two people that she loves so much, Elora and Kino, died because the Black Rose were trying to find her. And she may interpret that as it being her fault.
It's all right. I handled it. I won't let them corrupt your dream.
Now I want to share a little bit of how Mel loves. There's one significant thing that I love about Mel, and it is how she encourages the person that she cares about to reach out to the other people in their life that they love. Jayce is scared of Victor dying, scared to face it. Jayce feels so useless when it comes to Victor's illness. Mel encourages him to go and see him, that he doesn't have to face it alone, and just by doing that, you are helping him. She does this again when Jayce is starting to isolate himself because Victor is in the hex scoop and he doesn't know if he's going to survive. Every minute is spent in that lab. Every minute is spent just making sure that Victor will live. It's evident in how Jayce looks that he doesn't leave the lab. So she tells him, you should see Caitlin. She's trying to hide how much pain she's in, but she's in pain and you can help her. You should check on her. One, it makes Jayce talk to someone that he loves, someone who is mourning and can understand the pain he is also in. 2, it gets him to have a new scenery, to not be stuck, but still feel the world moving around him. When you're in pain and you stay in pain, it is a dangerous cycle. And 3rd, just making sure that Jayce has more than her. A toxic sign in a relationship is someone that isolates you. Mel does the opposite of that. She makes sure that the people that you love, you are still present in their life. Mel also does this with her mother. When they are talking about Kino, Mel says, "So you let him die," which is a very hurtful wound. She ends up slapping Mel. Ambessa is known to act out whenever someone talks badly about her family or brings up things that threaten her family. Apparently, even with her daughter. And Mel does not even gasp in surprise. There's no surprised look in her face. Mel has every right to respond in anger, but she doesn't. Her reaction is with love. "You should have come to me." Imagine getting slapped by your mother and then you telling them that you still would have been there for them. When her mother continues to not hear her, she stresses again how much her love is for Piltover. "I will join you. Just leave Piltover." Like she said, she did what she could for the family, and Mel is the only family she has left. So let's just go. Mel's love for Piltover and for her mother are seen very well in this scene. Even trying to appease her mother with her dream, we can avenge Kino together. Throughout Arcane, Mel really likes protecting other people's dream. Jayce's, Kino's, Ambessa's. Other moments of her showing her love, how she pays homage to Noxus through lots of different things in her room, the way her lip quivers whenever Kino is mentioned, both when she finds out about his death and when she sees him again. When Mel sees Kino in the Black Rose prison, and she hugs him so tight, he tells her, "I hope they never come for you," and she hugs him a little tighter. The way when she realizes that this isn't her brother, she puts her hands on his face one last time. She's examining him, already discovered that this isn't him, but gives one last small smile because it's probably the last time she'll ever physically see a reflection of him in this world again. And then slams it into the walls of her prison. Her first facial expression looks so hurt that she has to do this, and the second one is angry, determined, and her softness finally gone when she sees the threat of the real person. There's also a moment when Alora passes away and it is crushing to Mel. Alora, an assistant that has been through everything with her. She understands Mel so well that she even reflects her emotions. When she passes away, she calls Alora her friend. When Alora is in the Black Rose's prison, Mel does everything in her power. Even with thousands of thorn hands trying to grab her and pull her back, she is trying to reach her friend. Mel loves her mother. And she also loves humanity and Piltover. She doesn't want to hurt her mother. She doesn't want to kill her mother. Yeah, I saw some crazy posts even considering that. Throughout Arcane, when the characters really want to show you that they love you, they will press their foreheads together. Vander and Vi do this, Jayce and Victor, and Mel does it with her mother. She honors her mother by keeping her mask and inheriting her spot, changing her makeup style to also look more similar to Ambessa. Ambessa also tries to leave words of comfort to Mel. Mel caused her death, but Ambessa does not leave her with any words of vitriol. She tries to tell her that she's proud of her. "You are the wolf," leaving Mel with a smile so that she doesn't feel so guilty. There is one more thing that she does. Mel wanted to create Hextech weapons because she feared of a threat like Ambessa. Alora brings up that there are other nations talking about how Zaun and Piltover are a mess. What are we gonna do about that? Kind of implying like, are they going to build their defenses to show a source of strength? Mel says Jayce is not ready, implying that she doesn't want to bring up Hextech to build their defenses, until Alora gives her a letter from her mother, detailing how her mother's about to stop by for a visit. This makes Mel act out in fear, wanting the idea of Hextech defense weapons out there as soon as possible. This caused her to lose tact. When she brings it up in front of Victor, someone from Zaun. Mel does not say what she truly fears here, how her mother is a warmonger, how she doesn't trust her. She wants to handle that part on her own. To Victor and Jayce, this is just about Zaun, and it is insulting to Victor. He helped create Hextech because he wanted to help people, not hurt them. And it's painful to see a character whose home is directly affected by these decisions be looked over. She knows she made a mistake, but she cares more to protect the city from something that she's very scared of than to correct her mistake. So she looks back at Jayce and tells him, "This is just for defense. It will not be used for invasion." Hopefully, This will collect dust and they'll never have to think about these weapons again. And this is something that she continues to say, even when Jayce wants to use it for invasion, even when Ambessa does, even when Sallow does, after they all almost exploded. She never wavers. But it is incredibly important to acknowledge how this is a representation of failing Zaun. Yes, Mel is doing this for different reasons, but Zaun is still being affected. Victor's opinion is way more important than Jayce's opinion, and they both should have acknowledged that. And they both will when it's too late. Before this final meeting, Victor has been disregarded by these council members. And in this last conversation, he gets to speak in the room of council members. Does it fix those past experiences? No, but it shows a change, a willingness to understand him. And there is a small moment when Mel comes to visit Jayce in the lab. She stops to look at Victor. She then tells Jayce about Sallow and how he's trying to make a play for Hex Tech, obviously being manipulated by Ambessa. And Jayce looks back at the Hex Tech weapons that he's already created and goes, I promised Victor, no more. Mel has already fought for him, already said Hex Tech will not be used during an invasion. The whole time in this conversation, Jayce is holding on to Victor's cane. Mel tells him,
It's all right. I handled it. I won't let them corrupt your dream.
and she says that while placing her hand on Victor's cane and pushing it towards him. Personally, I don't think this was just for Jayce. I think in this moment, she's also thinking about Victor, whether it's guilt or something else. This isn't some small thing. The frame goes quite literally to the cane and her hand. One of the last things that she sees before the blast is Victor, and Victor looking at her with a smile. In this moment, they were all riding the same wavelength. This is more of a personal theory, but I don't believe that Mel hates Victor, dislikes him. I think she knows that she can't persuade him, but I do think him getting hurt in the blast affected her in some way, and they're showing it with this 3-second clip, guys. Yep, I am clinging on to this clip for life. I love these two characters, so unfortunately there is bias within me. However, as the fandom always likes to say, the animators didn't waste a single frame, so nothing is an over-analysis. I don't think this is true because I've seen crazy takes. Mine might just be as well. Some people are going to be like, oh, but she didn't save him. She doesn't know how to control her powers. She doesn't even know they exist. Now, as I talk about all the things that I love about Mel as a character, the growth that she's gone through, the softer components, as well as the parts where she was manipulative, there's something that really sits with me whenever I make videos on Piltover characters, especially the council members. They are responsible for what is going on in Zaun. Jayce talks about this, and he talks about it very well, how he cannot rule over Zaun, and neither can any of the council members. They don't know what it's like down there, so they don't know what they need. This does not mean that his proposal was purely good. Putting power in the hands of Silco isn't great, but we needed that recognition that he could not solve the problems in Zaun. He was making it worse. Mel agrees with him, which is why this ending scene is good, that they're acknowledging that they have failed Zaun. And if they wanted to help Zaun, they needed to relinquish their control over Zaun. For a decade that she's been a council member, she has been complicit in what is going on with Zaun. Mel looks at the future, and when you're only looking at the future, you fail the present. Progress is great, but progress for who? The prestige of Piltover made the horrors of the undercity fall in the shadows, hidden away and forgotten about. There's a lot of nuance in Arcane. Something can be bad even with good intentions. One of the biggest things that Mel struggles with throughout this series is Hex Tech weapons. She mentioned it once, but that was enough for it to haunt her for the rest of the series. Ambessa tells her, once a weapon is created, you cannot take that back. Mel has always wanted Hex Tech weapons only for defense. But in every conversation where she is saying, no, only for defense, only for last resort, someone is saying, let's use it to invade. Let's use it to start a war. Because a weapon was created, she can't stop what it unfolds. And you can see the fear in her face once it is done under her nose. To briefly summarize what happened, after Mel declares that she will protect his dream, Jayce goes back and forth on whether or not to make weapons. Even before the memorial attack, during the conversation with Caitlyn says Vi thinks these gauntlets will solve all her problems. And Jayce goes, what if she's right? Caitlyn snaps him out of it.
Hex Tech may keep us alive, Jayce, but it's not what will save us.
Maybe he's feeling like this because he's also processing the loss of Victor, but it is just a little ironic considering the last conversation. What finally pushes him to this decision was feeling completely helpless against the Shimmer-induced aggressors. They stand no chance against Son. Almost losing his life, he makes this decision. Under the Council's leadership, they have failed Zon. We can love certain things about a character and still feel mad about how they treat the people in Zon. Arcane made Nuanced Characters. Mel can be a pacifist who also wants to build her defenses. She can want the best for Piltover and want progress for the future while failing them in the present. She can be imperfect and manipulative and use them both for good reasons or bad reasons, even use these social skills, know exactly the right thing to say to bring someone comfort. We are human beings, and just like Victor says, we are two sides of the same coin. Love and hate. We can love a character, condemn their actions. We can hate a character and also understand them. Which, by the way, understanding does not mean that you support their actions. Just understanding what the heck is going on in their heads. I know Mel has received a lot of mixed reactions, so I hope that with this video, it helped you get to know her just a little bit more. That concludes my analysis on Mel. I do want to say a more fun theory, or not a theory, but an idea. Mel does not need romance, but she's deserving of it. She should love someone, and right now she has no one. So I'm going to offer two ideas. I think Mel and Lest are a very cute idea. They're both elegant women. They both know how to fall into good graces of people. Lest is versatile, adaptable, and with her voice, she can make you believe that she feels this way, but with her face, she will show her real feelings. She treats Sallow with Shimmer in an attempt to heal his slugs, being someone who deals with illicit substances to help the wealthy people in Piltover. It is good business if their client is a bit reliant on the substance. But for Lest, she does still care. When she tells him, "I'll see you next time next week," and he goes, "No, I need you to come back tomorrow," it shows Sallow getting addicted, and she is nervous by the thought of that. When I first watched it, I thought she cringed at the idea of being near Sallow. But really, it's to show that she is a bit concerned. Shimmer is addicting, and Sallow is falling down that rabbit hole. I'm sure it's not something new to her, and she's trying to prevent that with an alternative solution. Hey, there's someone in Zon performing miracles. Doesn't hurt to check it out. Because she wears so many masks, she knows when you are wearing a mask. She doesn't really trust people. She also can hear very, very well, which may have led her in the past overhearing conversations that showed people's real colors. Even just by Ambessa's footsteps, it alarms Lest, quickly trying to get out of there. So when she meets with Mel and we find out that Lest is one of her informers, she calls out that she doesn't think that Mel put her in this position just to look over Sallow. No, she wanted information on her mother. Her mother who looks like someone that would not take kindly to her if that were the case. She cares about her survival, and she will not be used as some expendable pawn. In this short time with Ambessa, Lest knows how dangerous she is. She says whatever she's dealing with, she could smell the fear in her, which is also quite scary. The person that you're scared of something else? What is it? Lest resists becoming more involved than just Sallow. But when mentioned that the city is in trouble if she doesn't help, Lest gives in. Not exactly sure if it's for herself or because she does care about the city. To wrap it up, she is clever. She knows what information is valuable and has her own philosophies, which she sticks through with. She brings a challenge to Mel and is someone that works really well with her. She can drop the mission with Sallow whenever she wants, but even after Mel disappears, she continues it and even presses questions on Mel's disappearance. She's also just a little sassy, and I really love that about her. I am in love with her character. So she can see past her mask, be a confidant, and help her. And Mel, who has learned about vulnerability and letting down her walls, can now open Lest up. Now again, this is just for fun. They absolutely have no romantic connection. I just love my elegant women together, okay? There's also one other person that does stick to my head, and his name is Steb. He's the fish boy. You might recognize him. Now, I blame this one on this video essay, because if I wasn't examining every single scene of Mel's, I would have never caught this. Now, some of you might say, why is he a fish? 900,000 of you think this fish is hot. These are all delusions. Just hear me out. During the memorial, when Mel is giving her speech, there is a infiltration. This man comes up, hits her, knocks her down, and then puts a barrel in her face. He then lifts it up to the sky. It is a very scary moment for her, and who comes to help her? None other than Steb. Tackles the guy down, picks Mel up, and then continues to guide her to safety. He's an enforcer, a Piltover enforcer. Of course he's going to do this. If it just ended there, I wouldn't really think much of it. And I didn't until later where Mel shields him during battle. So it just got me thinking about how they protect each other. Again, I am not saying it's canon or it's going to be canon, but I just like the idea of a guy who is so willing to run in to help protect the girl who has powers to protect others. Mel can't always be shielding other people. Sometimes she needs someone to shield her. Now, who is Steb? Steb is an enforcer and he's not without his own problems. I always have criticism of this group. He is someone who I think has a lot of loyalty. When Kate tells him, arrest this guy, Vi has a decency to be like, should we really arrest this guy? And Steb just follows orders. But he's also selfless. He does not care if you are from Zaun or Piltover. He's going to rush in and help you, even pushing others out of the way to be the first to go. When his mask is ripped off, he still tries to complete the mission to explode Victor's orb, the gas so clearly affecting him. This guy is risking his life no matter what. I'm telling you, it's always his ass. He has some medical background, being like the on-premise doctor, taking the initiative to check their eyes and check if these people are okay. What touched my heart about him is the respect he shows for people from Zaun. During the war, he stands on the bridge and is there to see if anyone from Zaun is going to help them. When they come, they do this beautiful animation of his, like, I don't know, gills or something. Maybe out of surprise or just joy. It's something that's affecting his body. And he takes off his hat out of respect for those joining them. And he is the only one to do this. He seems to be the type of person who does not like to use brute force or put his loyalty in a government. Rather, he puts it in a person. When Caitlin is readying up her weapon, when there is no direct threat, him and Vi are surprised and disapproving. And Ambessa is trying to recruit Kate. Many of the Piltover enforcers are also doing the Nox's chest thumping, except for Steb, who is carefully watching Kate's reaction. And only after she joins does he start doing it. His loyalty isn't even to the other enforcers, it is to Kate. I always like stories of like princesses and knights. So for my Mel lovers, I am planting that seed. There's potential there. Do you see it? Am I crazy? At the end of the day, I just think Mel is someone who had love as a big part of her story. And I want to see her continue with that. It is obviously something that matters to her. And as she's returning to Noxus, where people think so differently from her, I hope that they give her someone that loves her. We have seen how love can really affect her and open her to understanding herself and others for the better. Now this wraps up the Mel Medarda video. Please take this video as just my own interpretation. You know, we are seeing things through our own eyes, through our own biases. So of course you guys are going to have different views of things and feel free to share them down below. If you like this video, please consider subscribing. We're almost at 100,000. It's incredible. I also just want to give a huge shout out to Andrew. Gave the most incredible gift. I am not joking. He's like friends with Zeus. He gifted 600 lightning strikes while playing the 600 epic song. And then thunder started shaking my home. Here's my stream getting disconnected from the lightning. Also a big shout out to Cloudy, who took the time to make such a beautiful piece of fan art. They are an incredible artist who makes their own VTuber model. Thank you, Cloudy. Also a shout out to everyone that comes by the streams, that leaves encouraging messages. Happy New Year's. Take care. Love y'all. See y'all in the new year. Bye-bye.